It's an interesting time in many ways to be a fan of Indian football. Very simple reason that in recent times the national team has been performing above expectations, and you're seeing a clear and obvious improvement in the style of football as well as the consistency of results coming from the national side. But more so than that, there have also been significant changes to the domestic system that have been making it a better place, not just for professionals, but also to improve the, let's say, service done to fans as well. Now, recently, the AIFF, the All India Football Federation, had a general meeting that took place in Bangalore, the same city where the federation are currently hosting the SAF Championships, where of course India will be playing in the final. Now, this general meeting actually saw a few interesting changes being put into effect for the I-League, which is of course the second division of Indian football after of course the ISL or the Indian Super League. Now, there has been a change in not just the format of the I-League, but also in the number of teams that will be involved in the I-League in the upcoming season. But more than just that, there's also been a revival of a rather famous cup, one that long-time Indian football fans would be all too familiar with. In this particular video, what we're going to do is break down all of these changes in a little bit of detail and also look at what the impact of these changes could very well be for the future of Indian football as a whole. Because after all, it is worth noting that even if the performances of the national team are improving, in football, domestic and international performances go very much hand in hand. If you have a strong domestic system, you will more often than not have more success at the national and international stages as well. So without further ado, let's check in and talk about what exactly these big changes are that have been made to the domestic system, specifically the second division I-League, as well as an increase in matches thanks to another cup tournament being added. First off, it is worth noting that there have been 5 new teams that will be added to the I-League from the upcoming season onwards. Now, the AIFF had in fact received, let's say, tenders from 5 prospective interested, teams for this particular edition of the I-League, and they acknowledged that all 5 of them were good enough to be accepted straight away. So this right here is the list of the 5 clubs who will be part of the I-League in the upcoming season. You have FC Bangalore United, who of course have been flirting with promotion to the I-League for the last 2 years, a very well run side in Bangalore. And interestingly, this also means that this will be the first time that the I-League will see football played in Bangalore since the 2016-17 season, because it was after that season that Bangalore FC ended up buying in to become a part of the ISL. Inter Kashi, of course, their bid, we've done a video on previously. You can go ahead and check that out if you haven't. They're based out of Varanasi. And there's 3 more clubs, all of which you have yet to be given names. One is from Punjab, one will be in Delhi, and one is in Haryana or Ambala to be more specific. These are the 5 bids overall, which means that the I-League is now going to become a 16-team tournament. Now, obviously, that is great for, let's say, Indian football, because, of course, the more clubs you have, the more employment you are giving, of course, to the professional players who play the sport. And what it also does is ensure that there's a strong domestic, let's say, structure in place, not just at the top of the football pyramid, which is of course the ISL, but also in the lower divisions as well, that is in the I-League as well as the I-League second division. So that is very, very interesting in that sense that you have 5 new, let's say 5 new clubs coming in. And of course, you remember that now you have promotion and relegation going on as well between all divisions. So in a sense, it's really, really good that you're seeing new investment come in. And obviously, this does offer these clubs an easier path, let's say, than actually investing in an ISL team. If you're investing or you want to buy into an ISL team, the amount of money you'd be putting in is far more. If you go for an I-League team, however, the amount of investment that is required is less. And if you're smart enough with your squad building, with how it is you run the side, you may very well be in line for promotion in just 2-3 years' time. You've seen that happen with a lot of clubs in recent memory. But this isn't the only interesting change that has been done to the I-League. As I said, a new format is being mulled for tournament as well. In fact, the new format has been approved and will be in place for this edition of the I-League. The new model is, of course, one that fans of American sports would be familiar with. It's basically the conference model, wherein you have multiple teams in the same league, but they're not all going to play each other in a round robin format. Instead, the teams will be put into two groups, so two conferences, and obviously since there's 16 teams, each conference will have 8 teams, and therefore those 8 teams in one conference will play each other twice through the season, both home and away. And the same is for the other conference. So in both conferences, you'll see each team play each other twice, home and away. And from there, you're going to be having a playoff as well to determine not only the champions of the I-League, but also which teams get relegated. So in essence, the top 4 from each side will make it into the playoffs, where let's say, they will be fighting to determine who's crowned the champion of the I-League and thus get promoted into the ISL. Similarly, once the bottom 4 teams from each side will also be engaging in a playoff battle to see which team gets relegated. So the reasons for this being done, let's say it's multifold, and there's 2 major reasons. One is to bring down the costs of, let's say, running in the league for not just the teams but also the AIFF. Now you remember that with 16 teams, if you had 16 teams, that meant each team would be playing 30 matches in the league. And what happens with the league format is that once there's a clear advantage, or once there's a clear, let's say, title battle happening, a lot of the teams who are in the middle of the table just kind of end up giving up on the league. You'll see a lot of them send their best foreign players home. They won't be putting out strong sides because there's nothing to play for. If you're not fighting or scrapping for relegation, or at the top fighting to become champion, there's not much to battle. This is ensured or intended to put in a way to let it be known that for each team, they can actually, make it to the playoffs right there till the end of, let's say, the conference or the regular season. Thereafter, there'll be playoffs. And of course, the other thing is to ensure that these clubs aren't spending as much money, because again, if you have a team in the south traveling to let's say a city in the north or the very higher parts of the nation to play matches, it does add to the cost of running these clubs, and a lot of these clubs actually aren't self-sustainable right now. There needs to be some sort of an offsetting of the cost, and these are the 2 major reasons why these changes are being done. Of course, there is the added benefit of more games for all of these clubs, but that was going to be the case anyway, because the AIFF has also brought back Federation Cup. Now, as I said, long-time fans of Indian football will remember the Federation Cup, which is going to be making a comeback from the 2023-24 season, as at one point the premier trophy for clubs around the world. Again, you have to, for clubs in India, sorry. You'd have to remember that the National Domestic League, or what was known as the National Football League, later the I-League, didn't come about until the 90s. So there was not that many competitions for top professional clubs. You'd have the Durand Cup, maybe the Santosh Trophy where players would be playing, and then later on the Federation Cup, which was established in the 70s and thus has a lot of prestige and history attached to it. It had been discontinued in 2017, but will be making a comeback now after 6 whole years. In fact, this is the second Legacy Cup in recent history to have actually been given a revival of sorts by the All India Football Federation. You'd remember that last season the Durand Cup was brought back as well, and it was given far more importance. Not only was it the pre-season cup of sorts before the regular league season got underway, but the winners of it were also given entry into the AFC Cup. So, or the group stages, or the qualification of the group stages for the group stages of the AFC Cup. So there is plenty of, let's say, stakes involved as well. And from this year on, this is going to be the Premier Cup. It will replace the Super Cup, which is of course the cup that used to be happening after the season. Now, of course, it doesn't seem like the Super Cup is being replaced. Rather, the Federation Cup is going to supplement the Super Cup. So what that means is you're going to have potentially the Durand Cup, the League, as well as the Federation Cup and the Super Cup for as tournaments where India's domestic footballers or any players employed by India's clubs will be playing in all of these matches. So it's interesting. It increases the number of matches, and you would remember that this was in fact a mandate that was given to the AIFF by FIFA and the AFC, is that you need to be increasing the number of matches that your footballers play. Right now, the number of matches is far too less, and this is a concrete positive step in that direction. So these are the major changes. Of course, as we said, it's pretty wholesome, it's pretty comprehensive, but it does look like it is potentially setting up the I-League, which in the eyes of many was actually a league that wasn't really attracting eyeballs, wasn't really getting much in terms of viewership. Besides a few hardcore fans, there weren't that many people who cared about the league as such. This could very well be a breath of fresh air for the league, because again, the ISL is there as the big money, let's say, domestic first division, but you also need stronger divisions below for let's say Indian football to survive and thrive, and these changes might actually help ensure the sustainability and longevity of the I-League. Of course, bringing in new clubs, ensuring that the costs of running these clubs are cut down, but also giving these clubs more game time. All great initiatives, and I for one am very excited for the 2023-24 domestic season to get underway, because I'd like to see how good these changes are in practice, because in theory all of them sound great. I'm looking forward to the Federation Cup, but what about you guys? Are you excited about all of these new changes that are happening? You can let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, tap the bell icon, leave us a comment, follow us on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook, and don't forget to download the AajTak app as well. Plus, if you're already on the channel, go ahead, check out some other videos that we've done. For now, from my side though, it's goodbye.